2014 is what the worst part of my life. I ended up checking out 3 times. It was dark. I looked like a crackhead, no butt, no hair, eyes all sunk back in my head. But the Spirit told me, what you want to do? At 14, it's 7 of us boys that's in the foster home, and they went to go see James Brown. With my mischief self, I went and burned down my foster mama's barn. She would tell them people, send this one back. You can't blame somebody when you need to blame yourself. And when you blame yourself, then you understand who you are.
It's time to get it in. We need real men who you know, phone a friend, eh? Peace come within, love come within, success come within, okay? Who been torn in? A win is a win. Somebody let me in. Let's get it, baby. Shout out YN, Big Brother on 10. Off the rip, we need meals. Run it in, baby. Peace and blessings. So, you are tuned in to the In the Clouds Media Podcast. I am LJ Hippie, the sole proprietor of OPM Vision, the head of the Curtel family, and the head of security for this building known as Sacramento Black Wall Street, aka Florence Square. So today I have a very special guest with me. This person has been involved with almost everything involved with my life ever since the age of 8 months old. We call him the last of the Mohegans. You know, he's one of the elders of the tribe. He's got the most wisdom and he's got it to offer. So let us know who you are. Let us know your name.
I'm J.T. Williams III from Fresno, California. That was my son that gave me this introduction. I come from a family of the Williams out of Fresno, California. Being who I was back then, from time I was born to end up juvenile hall, YA, penitentiary, streets. The good Lord blessed me with my son to change my life around. Being here 15 years in Sacramento, the best thing that ever happened was going to church, but then I found something else better on Wednesday, the men's healing. And it gives me a lot of inspiration to understand who I am, where I'm going, and what I need to do. To go back where I came from, Fresno, California, I always used to tell people, I'm from the know, and I ain't talking about Reno. I'm talking about Fresno. It was good when it was, but as time went, you have a mindset of understanding the games people play, where you want to go. My parents were good to me. I just took a route. Juvenile hall, want to be mischief. I ended up in a foster home from 6 till I was 18. I ran away 4 times. At 14, it's 7 of us boys that's in the foster home, and they went to go see James Brown. With my mischief self, I went and burned down my foster mama's barn. And you're supposed to go somewhere else when you're in the foster home. She would tell them people, send this one back. Some kind of way, I kept on running away, but she was the best thing for me. My parents didn't have nothing to do with me running. It was just me. Didn't like nobody to tell me what to do, being mischief. As time went, at 16, I'm out in the fields doing poles. Out white-eyed, that means you passed out, had a stroke. She told me to go lay down and put a cold water on me. Ain't nobody gonna come out there and save me. As time went, at 18, I ended up coming back to Fresno. Going to Edison High School back in the day, I got as far as the 9th grade. End up, when the time I was 18, I got married for my oldest son, that's Andre. And to understand that, I got 5 different kids by 5 different women's. And my background wasn't to where I was able to raise one. That's LJ Hippie. It changed my life to where I paid more attention. I was on crack, and it didn't help anything, but from the health of letting God be with you and have faith. Getting here 15 years ago, we did pretty good. I was around my son, but 2014 is what the worst part of my life. I ended up checking out 3 times, and the grace of God made it known. I didn't see no Michael Jackson or Fred Fox or nothing. It was dark. I looked like a crackhead, no butt, no hair, eyes all sunk back in my head. But the Spirit told me, what you want to do? I said, be here for my loved ones. And I'm here. It took a little while. I'm 7 years clean from crack, 4 years clean from powder. I have my little drink, but I'm at home. But I do what I do best, to be here for my loved ones. That's my grandbabies. I'm a great grandpa. My oldest, he's here in Sacramento. My daughter, Nene, she's in the Bay Area.
Shout out.
And then there's Edwina, she's in St. Louis.
Don't stop.
There's Jermaine.
YM.
And then there's Jamal.
Peace and blessings.
Raising my kids made a difference. Well, really raising one. I would come in and out and see them for a minute, never stayed grounded or solid enough to have a dad's image. It's a miracle with the grace of God that I was able to hold this one down. He held me down because I had to learn more about being a dad. I didn't learn much. I just did it for the sake of knowing what females got to do to raise a child. They're more getting disrespect of the man leaving the family and letting that woman, that young, whatever age she is, to raise a child, boy, girl, or maybe more than one. And it's a struggle because she got to deal with herself as her health. You know, when you deal with the female, you always love them and love them when you get to the top. Because when they start coming down, it's emotional feeling. It's that once a month. It was probably the dude before you came into the picture. You got to respect yourself, but you respect your parents, no matter what. Aunties, grandma. You didn't play games with grandma back in the day. And it's where we're older now and people have their ways of disrespecting. It's a lot of the kids that don't know what love is. You don't want to go to the street and do time all your life, go through drugs, be in misbehavior. It's called obedient. And if you'll be obedient to yourself as God, you'll be obedient to other people. It makes no difference what nationality they are. They talking about the man, the white man. Look, all of us go through something. You can't blame somebody when you need to blame yourself. And when you blame yourself, then you understand who you are. You got to love you first. You can't go out there and try to love somebody else and don't know who you are. You need to stay in the books. You need to read. You need to pay attention. I used to do all that reading. My son be on me. Dad, have you read it? I ain't read it yet. But he had the garlic going. He had quite a few things. I goes to church, and it was talking about this year, Central Calvary. And it said focus on
Calvary Christian, you mean?
Calvary Christian, right on.
Shout out to Pastor Godot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, excuse me.
With that, my son wrote a thing, focus on now. To be honest with what he says and does, I never was taught, I never was around. My dad was a good dad. My brother was a good brother, Johnnie T. Williams Jr. and Danny Lee Williams. They had their way of being structured. There was a Gerard in there. I have a brother, sister, D. John, Francine, and Daryl. All of them are siblings. But it goes with Marvin. It's a pretty big family. All of them that are still here are here. Don't have my mom, don't have my dad, don't have a few brothers. All of them are gone. Who I really have is my grandkids and my siblings that are still around. That's what keeps me strong enough to keep it moving. I do it in a certain way. Sometimes I get a little beside myself. My son will check me. He'll say something to me. I'll look at it. I used to kind of fuss at him. I don't even do that anymore because you don't need negativity to try to raise anybody. You don't need nothing that ain't going to work for you. You need something that matters, something positive, something that'll get you through life. At the same time, I look at Buddhism. I listen to Christianity. I'm a flexible person to understand what people got going, to do something better with my life. I'm at 79. Next year I'll be 80. My son always going to let me know none of my family members made it that far. My stepmom, Frances, she was 83.
Shout out to Francis.
With that, we understand. Go ahead.
I just want to say, when it comes to being long-winded, us Williams is definitely that. I wanted to unpackage because you just dropped a lot. You gave a lot. So you said since you were 6 is when you started experiencing the foster care system.
Juvenile hall first.
Juvenile hall at 6. I mean, yeah, that's at 6 years old being in juvenile hall. So that's the early 50s. You were born in 1947. So 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. In 1953, you were 6 and you were already introduced to the system.
In the system.
So, right. So we're going to start to unpackage that because the upbringing you already gave a bunch of wisdom right there. But I can only imagine in 1950, in the early 50s, you being 6 years old, going into foster care. And you had mentioned you ended up burning down a barn. You were doing it. You used to be mischievous. But so with that, of course, I don't expect you to remember as far back as 6. But when you said being born in 1947, starting getting into trouble, and then you said from 6 to 18, what would you say was the major like influence or contributor like that just led to this thing starting to happen?
Not paying attention to the parents, not believing in God, believing in the streets. I always felt that had my name on it because I used to be a thief. I'm always picking up something that didn't belong to me. And when the parents say, you know that's bad, I had an attitude. I don't like nobody tell me what to do. And I had to learn it the hard way. And that ain't the way. Now, what goes on now, it's worse. You don't want to get caught up. Juvenile hall, youngsters today packing. I never pack any guns or nothing. You don't want to lose your freedom. You need to be out here and try to do something with your life instead of going through it. And that was back then. It's worse now, but you could still accomplish something. What makes it different, you could look at who's giving me the interview, and I never put anything in front of him to where he would change his mind, and I never influenced him. Some dads would do that, and and moms can't help it. She's gonna go, she's gonna fuss, she's gonna say some things. You never knew what cussing is. My own son, I used to have, my mouth was pretty bad. He would have me to pay some money, and I put $5 in a cup. Before I knew it, I wasn't even saying nothing. I asked him, "Can I get a refund?" But it was my grandbaby. It was my first one, and I paid attention. So you don't want to get too old not to. You need to learn now, whatever age you are, when you hear this and see this.
Definitely. And I'm grateful for you to be 79. And even then, you've been a part of everything in my life since I've been 8 months old. And I want to say you didn't expose the bad habits, like how you said you've been involved in mischievous and all this. You really kept all that away from me. Like I didn't witness none of the bad habits, or even then I didn't really know, you kept so much away from me that I had a fun childhood coming up. But your story is something that I still reflect on because I'm like, hey, I'm grateful to have a father who sacrificed and really made sure that I was allowed to be a kid. But your story is what we're getting to now, to where you being a kid, you were dealt a bad hand. And you kind of admitted, Fresno, you didn't like being told what to do, so you kind of just went out to go see what the streets had to offer. So in Fresno, like, would you say Fresno has shaped you in more of a negative way or even more of a positive way, just from you still being able to go through what you went through?
Fresno was more negativity because what we go through, like this broadcast, I was telling my son, I think I was in my 20s at the time, and then there was a cable thing on Channel 4 in Fresno, and I got to speaking, but that's at 20-something years old. Through my lifespan, I done been to Salvation Army when they were whooping Rodney King, and I stayed there like 6 months. The captain's wife asked, could you stay a little longer? Because my influence and inspiration, I was working in the kitchen. I had a beatbox, played nothing but James Brown, but I was positive. Then I ended up being, after the year, going to Pasadena, where the whole situation of Salvation Army is billion-dollar business. And I'm in Pasadena looking and wondering what's going to happen. Never thought I would get this far in life. But I done been in program, AA, NA, and rehabilitation don't come from going to the pen. You got to learn something while you're able to, because they don't learn you nothing in the pen. I done been through some stickings and race riots. I didn't even know the word started with an N until I end up in the pen. I worked most of my life being in the foster home, in the fields. I even picked cotton and stuff from with Chavez, all of this kind of stuff, where I came from. But where I came from right now doesn't matter. What matters now is we listening to people that have positive attitudes, people that are doing something. You don't want to get out there and sell some drugs, be a pimp, or slapping a female upside the head. That ain't where it's at. Read you something, get you an art, get you some type of skill, put a little money in your pocket. If you're a man or a young man, you look out after mom. If you got some kids coming, look out after them. They don't need you to be locked up and you got to go visit. The mama got to bring you to see where you at, how much time you got to do. You don't need that. That's not positive. You need positive attitudes. Whoever got it, I used to listen to Tupac, Mac Dre, certain people I listened to. Comedy Now, Richard Pryor was my idol. I used to read Malcolm X, and I have a Muslim name, Basim Matik. I got
What
that
does that
from
mean, by the way? Basim
Matik. I was smiling and firm. And I got that from W.D. Muhammad in Jamestown. That's when, and it's in the books. It's where back then I couldn't do nothing but smile, but I got kicked out because I was in the kitchen getting rid of pork sandwiches. So I couldn't.
Peace and blessings.
Yeah. And at the same time, the Muslim I started talking about the bean pies, how they work. And they kind of told me I can't be telling people what to do with the bean pie, but they were delicious. I even get some here. But it's where I could have did better, but I didn't. And I really didn't struggle. It just goes over my head. But to understand it now, I thank God I'm here for my grandkids, my kids. What motivates me to be able to have something to say to anybody out there. You could be the youth, but like they say, we're looking at the youth right now.
Right.
The young men's are going through stuff, especially that female, she going through stuff. What men should be there for them don't even have no consideration of woman. Don't make no difference what color she is. That's a woman that birthed you. You know how I used to say it. You lucky she didn't pull that 9 on you. And if you want to know, ask me what 9 mean.
What does 9 mean?
9 months. She could have did something with you and flush you away. 9 months she carried your sorry butt, and you didn't make it. But some you do, some pay attention and appreciate grandma, aunties, cousins, anybody in that area with the female. You can respect the male, but it's that female.
Right. We got to hold it down for the ladies.
Hold it down.
So speaking of the women, we could dive a little deeper into that. When did you first get married? Let's start with your marriages. The type of
I
women
got
you
married when I was 18 to my oldest son's mama, George Carter William, rest in peace. And I didn't do too good because he was little. And at the time, his grandma came and she used to sit down. We called her Big Mama. And she kind of looked at me like, don't you mess this up. That's my daughter. And I had his sister was Laverne. And my son was about 3 or 2. And I'm looking at it. And then my dad came. He looking, boy, don't mess this up. You a William. Before they knew it, I'm in CMC with Huey P. Newton. And 3 of my kids coming in a visit room. I'm telling my 3-year-old or 4-year-old, that's Huey P. Newton, like he knows what I'm talking about. I did 7 years. My daddy came 4 times. I didn't trip on it, but you don't really want to lose your freedom. That's something you could do bad out here, but you don't want to go behind the wall. And you definitely don't want the system have anything to do with your kids. Well, yourself. You need to, firm up, man up, do something constructive. Hard work is hard work. It pays off in the end, and it makes your family even better to have structure.
Definitely.
I had a quick question.
Go.
Just going back to you growing up in Fresno,
Hmm.
being there was at that time. Because when I think of Fresno now, I think of like diversity, bunch of kind of almost like Sacramento, where you have a bunch of different races. How was it back in the I think the '60s? You were saying that your teenage years were.
Filipinos, Chicanos, Germans. We got Filipinos in our life. My family wasn't prejudiced. My grandma taught me we used to go to a Russian lady's house up a hill, and Scotch, where you had the dogs, a white and a black dog, used to get mint candy. I was always around different nationalities. In the foster home, my neighbors were white. They were called the Woodses, but I thought they was my cousin because all we just hug and hold on, cut grapes. I went to Carruthers School, and as time went, you learn so much what goes on in the world. People that say something don't know what they talking about. I have a thing about James Brown say talking loud, saying nothing, and uh, Black Power with the Black Panthers, Payback. I'm more of a James Brown, dramatic Temptation. I was raised on doo wop. I listened to a little Chicano, listened to a country and western. I was flexible, but the way it is now, rapping is rapping. I just don't like the ones calling females out their name. You put your money to you. That's your thing. I ain't in it, but I got a son that don't cuss, don't even do drugs. None of my kids do what they do. What I used to do, don't do it. And so I was that bad seed because he wasn't supposed to make it. Me trying to raise him, and the grace of God helped me to understand. My middle name was I knew better.
Speaking of seeds, I heard a saying that bad seeds can't bear good fruit. But I think this is like an exception because if you just labeled yourself a bad seed and where you're rooted in, where we're rooted in, I think you at least bared at least one good fruit. No knock to nothing, but even then, we're still on a journey. But planting seeds, that's something that we're still doing now. You're still planting positive seeds, even though you would consider yourself a bad seed. And that's what I like about the Rooted In podcast series. Like our roots are a reminder of knowing we're a product of our environment, but if you're in a dysfunctional toxic environment, which we know all about, you can still have an option to choose to plant good seeds or at least turn those negatives into positives, and that's where I still get inspired by your story because I'm still learning. How you said you were 18 when you married Georgia.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And just to kind of still double back on the women, how, like right now it's for the women and the kids. Like right now it's the youth that we're pushing a hard line for, but we got to represent the women because they're under attack as well too. But I'm curious about the women in your life that you dealt with just because these are women in my life as well. Um, but if you can care to share for with Georgia, why didn't that marriage or what led to that marriage not working out or
Me,
what happened with
me
that?
being ornery, then see being at 18 and getting married.
Young.
If you think you know, you don't. you
Facts.
know,
Facts of life.
when you get a child, if you think you know, you don't. You
Facts of
need
life.
some guidance. You need somebody. Those that was trying to tell me how to be a husband really wasn't talked about. Either they say you don't do it, that's it, or you know the consequences. Learning now with Nene, that's my oldest girl. It was
Shout out
just
to my big
yes,
sister.
it was just I had a dad that we always go to Oakland to find out where she was at, and she had her own thing about things, and I never was around. By the time I go, either she done went somewhere in Oakland, and going in Oakland back then, like I said, I had started with Huey P. Newton out of Vacaville, and we went to CMC, and I used to snap my fingers because it was a series of Flip Wilson. He did a Geraldine thing. It's something like a gay thing. I'm sitting there talking, and Huey P. Newton told me, "You ain't gonna do that when you go CMC. That ain't right." And by the time he got through talking to me, we left Vacaville to CMC. He said I was a Black Panther. And I stuck with that for a minute, but it didn't matter to me because I was in a different quad out of 7 years. but at the same time to learn the difference, what you don't need to do. I was curious, I might have tried this or tried that, but you don't make it, you might not make it. I always looked at, you go out there in that world, sometimes you might not make it to get back because God got his hand on you. I done been through stickings and death, and if he took his hand off, I wouldn't be here. So he had to have his hand, because if it was the devil, I'd have been gone. You wouldn't have know me talking like this. And then my other child, Edwina, she in St. Louis. She was out of Clovis. And for her, I used to come out the pen, Jerry Curl and all, and go where she had. Clovis was a lot of, I would say, some Ku Klux Klan, but it was cowboys. And they had horse, and I used to go. They used to say, Johnny, boy, I bet you can't get out of here. I used to play cards with them. I'd call somebody to come and get me because I done stole something, didn't have no business. I done fussed at a few of them. I'm still here. I always say my mouth ain't busted, my back ain't dirty. I done skipped a few butt whoopings, but it's where that's how my daughter was. By the time I got to Jermaine, I was into the crack thing. And that took me to this and that, not being able to be the dad I wanted to be, but I didn't know how to be it, so I wasn't interested. But at the same time, getting a hold of my son, Jamal, 8 months old, the influence my dad had, he said, come on, let's go get your child. It's almost like, come on, let's be a man, be a dad. I'm looking at him, wondering, who he trying to tell me what to do? But we went to Visalia and I got my son. And it wasn't hard, but it's where if you have the obligation to be something more than what you was, you'll take that on. And smoking crack in the pen, it's the way I was explaining to the other young man that's here, how he met Jamal. And like he said, to adjust how to be a dad. I had to understand that, but from the female. No man came up to me and said, well, you don't do this, you don't do that. They already said it, but I'm like, this time I got to hear it. But I had a dog named Onyx, and Onyx used to run off 3 times. So I always paid $50 to go get the dog, Onyx. On that 3rd time, I made a statement. I'm like, I looked at my son. I said, well, I better go get these Pampers. So as he grew up, he's like, Dad, what do you mean? I said, well, wasn't no use me trying to keep that dog, and you need stuff. So I had to shift it over. And it made good to see how he is. But I always looked at, he wasn't supposed to get as far as he did if I'm raising him, because my background, never been around none of my kids, always on drugs, going in and out. So with that, God gave me a chance, either you are or you're going to learn today to do something with yourself and for somebody.
Quick question: what city were you in when you were introduced to crack?
Fresno.
In Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a major
No shoot.
Was that a big scene over there?
When crack came in. It came. I used to see people, and there was a partner named this guy. I can't think of his name. He was telling me, man, how you do crack? And I said, what? He said, man, you don't need to do crack. And I was sliding across a car. I was still acting up. I did my little drinking. So when he did see me, he said, Johnny, I said, man, I'm on crack. He grabbed it and said, oh, no. Because crack takes you somewhere you don't never. What goes on now ain't got nothing to do with crack. People are bending down like they all do, but they don't fall. It's worser. Drinking, heroin, all of that was coming. But when crack hit, it just knocked you a different way. What goes on now is something way worse. And at the same time, I end up with HIV. I've been an HIV person for decades.
What year did you contract HIV?
I could say it had to be.
I was born in 93. I was born in 1993.
You 93. So from Jermaine, I had to catch it after Jermaine because I had it when you were born. It just didn't affect. At the time, it was weak or whatever the case may be, he was kind of weak or no, wasn't taking medication. You didn't get it, but at the same time, it had to come. I had to. I don't. I'm not saying it right.
No worries.
Yeah.
So we're gonna peel it back because even then,
Yeah.
I remember you said you were starting to get curious, and you gave an example. You dabbled with crack around the time that Jermaine was born, but you also said you had contracted HIV, which is a very serious thing that's going on. ChatGPT can give very thorough information on what it is, but for those that don't know, HIV is a human immunodeficiency virus. It's a deficiency within your immune system. It can lead to cancer. It often does, but there's medications that do treat it. But just for the record, you were saying you contracted this around the time that I was born.
I could be off because I'm thinking I got the cancer being with you.
2014.
Yeah.
You got cancer in 2014.
So
non-Hodgkin's
I'm
lymphoma.
kind of vaguely, so it could have been before then with HIV. I'm not really clear, but to have it, the medicine came out for Magic Johnson. We wasn't even getting that medicine until a couple of times later. But if I'm not, I know I could have got away before then. No, I ended up with herpes in the Salvation Army, and that's a bad disease too that you could give out or whatever.
When was that?
That was around when Rodney King was getting whooped. I caught the herpes way back. I don't know what year that. They could Google it to find, because I was in Salvation Army, and they could Google it to find out when the herpes came out. A person in Salvation Army died of it. It was worse than HIV back
You said
then.
someone died from the herpes?
Died from herpes. Died from it. Whatever it wasn't curable that big. So being in Salvation Army, it's all different nationalities. So I was sick for about maybe 2 months. I lost, weight and everything. As the DNA would say, I was the type of person that catches stuff. I caught syphilis, I caught gonorrhea, I caught all that. So I was, yeah.
Gonorrhea?
Yeah, I caught all of that.
Syphilis.
How they say your immune system is off base. Now, I wasn't healthy. And being that I am this age now, my oldest used to tell me, who was my doctor, that's my son here. Because when I end up with cancer, he had ingredients of certain things I should do. And before I knew it, I was slipping back out of bad health. And he still has things, the smoothies and all of that. And it makes it different that I hardly drink water. I got to drink water. I'm looking at what certain things will keep you here. A lot of it is in your kitchen. Grandma and them used to do stuff, fix stuff for your soups or whatever. So a lot of things now, you don't have to catch it, but if you don't pay attention to your health, your immune system, and if you got a child, you definitely got to pay attention. They say the elders and the kids will get it. They'll get it. The health is very important.
100%. Health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
Rodney King incident was in 91.
In 91.
Okay, so that's when I caught the herpes. 91.
So just to kind of ask about that a little bit. So now looking back and kind of hearing what the government was doing, feeding that into those communities, does that ever do you ever build resentment, or do you ever have something that you feel when you hear that they literally were funding that?
Well, how I understood certain things, we're lab rats. People are taking experience and they'll throw it out there. They're not going to tell you they did. A lot of stuff come from mistakes. They didn't shot monkeys. They doing rat. It's a commercial now. Don't be it shows a man with his hand, but you put something in his teeth. It's on the commercial. We didn't have that kind of, well, I didn't. Back then, you barely didn't know, and everything is on your phone now. Back then, if you caught it, you caught it. Then in your guinea pig, for going to the doctor, some people don't make it. Some people, let's try this. See how you feel after, your teeth fall out, your nose, your eye, your leg, and You know, certain things. But then doctors these days pays a little bit more attention. You got newer doctors, and I'm speaking it out of what I know when it comes for your health, but it's what I don't know. So I'm not, able to say it, but you could Google it now. It'll give you some type of, or what's my little thing? Alexis.
Alexis.
I say Alexis because it's a
Alexis
thing
or
you
Siri.
have where Alexis, I start asking her for a thing, and she'll tell you, well, I'm not familiar with that. I'm like, they give you something instead of leading you on to something. The next thing you know, your arm all acting up. Then you can all get all crooked,
Well, that's what happened with the COVID vaccines. I think like when
Ooh.
they first came out, people were reacting really badly to them, even contracting COVID. Even I know my mom, when she got hers, it really like affected her system.
Huh.
So got her weak, and so that's the reason she caught COVID. So it's like, what are they even testing this stuff, or are we just their guinea pigs, like you said, where we're being tested while they're giving it to us?
And it's the shots now. My kids don't even allow me to take it. I used to get polio shots and stuff. Being here after COVID, they got things where they're injecting fishes. If you Google it or you look at YouTube, they're putting stuff in. It's like an old saying. For us black folks, there's a liquor store in every corner. So we gonna drink. That's understandable. So you can imagine, it ain't just us anymore. It's anybody. The system don't care what color you are. If they get out there to get you, they're going to get you if you don't pay attention. And you got to test it, especially when you're raising a kid and, would you take this cough syrup? I'd take it anyway, but you turn that over. If you see something in there your child don't need or you don't need it, and you use some messing with it. He don't take much medicine. I'm taking the HIV, I'm taking high blood pressure, I takes it, but I takes it in a way I might miss a day. I'm still here, because sometimes that medicine have me, like you can see now, I didn't took my medicine this morning. You swear I done smoked some weed, but it's just the medicine that'll draw me to a minute. And then but I'm an active person. I can't slow down. I didn't even like hair. I tried it 2 times, messed up. I likes to keep.
Heroin, you said?
Yeah,
You didn't like
I shot it. Back in the day in the 60s, I shot it. When I nod out, I had a 58 Chevy, and I used to bust my head. I nod out. I would go through stuff. And if I didn't like it, somehow the alcohol got me in the pen, drunk driving and all that. But then crack, something I like this. And then, with COVID, that's when I stopped. I chased him out one day. Some just said, you don't need to do crack no more. And I was like, I'm going on 7 years. So at the beginning of the 20s is when I said, man, I'm tired. And then at that, you play yourself out. Like I said, you could go out there and do it. There's some people still probably slamming. Whatever it is, God got the hand on him. But you could make that one miss, hit a vein. You could get that one shot and it wasn't the right stuff for you, and you go out. Your heart is something that got to keep going, but your mind is something else. Your mind will play tricks on you. Your mind will tell you, you could do it, you could do it. That's the devil talk, but it's your mind. And it'll convince you, okay, every time I said I quit, I run cold water, within 30 days I went right back to it. And they had, when my kids would say, I just got through with the cancer. Soon as I felt well, I went and got me one. My kid, Daddy, boy, you almost died. He even said, what's wrong with you? I don't know. I like it. I wasn't paying attention to myself. But as time goes, somebody's going to change you. One way, if you don't change yourself, you listen to God. But if you're ready to change, you need to change, because this don't last too long. The next thing you know, you out of here. You gone. Or you so messed up in the hospital, you don't know who you are. They're going to put people got that stuff every 3 days for the blood transfusion to come back. Yeah. And I was around a lot of people that are not here, but you look at what who's in charge. He's knocking all this mental people. He's taking stuff we need for the elderly to get through. And your rest homes, older people are just going. They ain't got nowhere to go, and he's taking everything. Whoever he think he is, he's making it hard. It's been hard for a long time, but it's making it hard for younger people. Even your baby, you don't want your daughter, your little son, and something to come up. He done made a law. You can't get this. You can't get that. It's messed up. But you could get through. I'm a survivor. I done been through it all, but it doesn't mean just because I'm a survivor, you might not get it like that. You're going to go through your emotional feelings. Somebody that said something, stepped on your toe you don't like. You done built all that up. Then you done went ape. You done jumped on somebody you didn't have no business. Just seen it today out. Youngsters will go through it, but it's everybody. Going back yesterday, people just fussing at people for no reason at all, but you can look, they own something. And when you fussing at somebody that's trying to do their job or somebody that got a positive attitude, I don't have too much to say because I ain't going to say nothing to them. Because 5 times out of 10, they might just look at me, oh, I could knock this one out. So, but I do say something, because you get older, you're like, oh, he old, let me dust him. And then people are jumping, like, okay, that's on him. But
that's really sad too, because I've seen that on the internet a lot, where they're like abusing the elderly, or they're almost finding it like funny or trolling it, and I'm like, what is this like new trend where we're disrespecting them or even abusing them at that point?
Facts.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
I always remind my dad. I said, "You're 21 years away from being 100. How long do you want to be here for?" And I don't be trying to, dig that deep, but I let them know, like, no, like, I need you here another 21 years because I got 3 daughters. I got marriages to prepare for. I got businesses to help. I'm working for them in a real way. But you're right. This new generation, they have no disregard for the elderly. They don't even care about their life in some aspects. But that's why I'm grateful for the fact that I have a father who's been around for almost 80 years and who's like, he's been counseling me through certain things that's going on. But I still look at it like, I need you, but I need you to know, like, health is wealth. You already didn't outlive. Look, you're damn near 80 and you're right now in 2026 seeing people, not even teenagers are even having the mindset, the wherewithal, or even the fortitude to even cast a vision, to even avoid distractions. They're unaware of the cradle to prison pipeline that is a real thing and that my dad has been a part of, my siblings have been a part of. But that's why I think back to that. You're 21 years away from making it 100. I'm 32 years young, but that's why I think of, like, man, there needs to be at least some leaders in the community. There needs to be somebody even in those positions in politics. Shout out to Ronald Bell. Vote for Ronald Bell, District 2 County Supervisor. Even people at the local level as well that can initiate change and to facilitate growth. But Pop, that's where I'm like, for those that don't know, I am the way I am. A heavy influence comes from this, Us Williams are long-winded. We some long-winded Williams, But I let people know, I'm like, this is who I am. I do need help. Like, cut me off. Don't feel bad because I'm finna keep this thing going. But I'm grateful for this interview. This is definitely one of my favorite interviews, if not my favorite interview, because the glory's in the story, and his story is magic. If he can let you know he didn't almost caught everything, then died before, came back, been through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now making it through the 2020s, with a positive attitude, going through all of these generations. But just to take it back a little bit, because again, you opened it. You was like, I was curious, so I started experiencing things, and I wanted to ask you. Then I was like, when you say curious, let's give an example, But you did. You even mentioned the drugs, and then you mentioned how even with alcohol, drugs, and even how COVID had affected things. So we're gonna pull it back a little bit, but COVID definitely boosted a lot of businesses. COVID boosted my business, but I will say it made me understand what was going on. I didn't take it light. I took it very serious, but I thought when the narrative was there's no cure for COVID because it's similar to the common cold, I treated it like it was a common cold. But for the elders, if you have respiratory illnesses, or if your immune system is weak, then you can catch colds or catch ammonia like things, the same as babies. But I'm saying that to say COVID affected everybody's life. it was like a reset, but as a shift, like everything did change, but it boosted a lot of businesses, but it make us pay attention to health, even if it invited fear, but it made everybody's way of thinking and doing things different. Separate from COVID, and even then, like, I know we kind of keep going back to like the drugs and alcohol thing as far as the habits, but the women you're dealing with. So I still wanted to get to the second wife, after Georgia. Who was your second married? Who were you married to second after Georgia?
I ended up marrying Willie Holmes.
Shout
And
out.
and I'm still married to her. Just she is still alive, and she helped me get through a lot of the time of doing time back then. When Elvis Presley died, she come to visit me in Chino. I was surprised because when I went behind them walls, I didn't want to be bothered with the family, nobody, because you got to do time, and you can't worry about the rent, or if a man there, you want to know who's messing with my girl while I'm locked up. Well, you ain't there, so she got to have her needs, and whatever the case is, somebody's paying the rent or looking out for her. So Willie, she's still alive. Just got a hold of her about a couple of months ago. The families I was in, most of the family I was in, their dad wasn't there. He was doing time or somewhere else. So stepkids, I don't like to say that, but the kids, family I was in, they would ask me, I'd like you to be my dad. I want you to be my dad. When the crack thing came, certain ones still would say, I wish you were my dad. And I look at them, why would somebody want me? But it's like how I looked at it. Anybody I'm getting into that family with, I would want you to treat my kids like I'm going to treat yours. So I made a good name of how they say, stepdads ain't nothing. Well, here's one. I made something. And if my kids got on there that's still alive, they've told Pops was something else. He might have said something to my mom, but I liked him, And I look at, that's the grace of God. What's inside of me, I'm more, how my son, I asked him about my purpose. What was my purpose, son?
Your purpose is to please God and serve others.
And I did that very well because my Christian brother, Will, he would say, well, he loves everybody. I kind of couldn't go with that. I can't love everybody, but it's the way how the Christians are having. If you God, like Jesus, they tore him up and he still loved. It's being how he said it. I have to have some type of love. It didn't matter how he see me help a lady trying to get across the street. She was white. She was struggling. It didn't make no difference. A Chicano dude, he was going through something. Hey, here's some. Didn't even know him. It's the way I felt at that time. Because I used to always say, if I start thinking, I'm going to say no. So a lot of times I have to go on a reaction. Let me make it clear. My son was in the 4th grade. He say, Dad, you got a problem? We moving to Sacramento? I didn't try to think about it. I said, no, we're ready. But in my head, I said, I can't be bringing Fresno mentality with him. I brought some.
You brought Fresno with us.
I brought it. But I had to, it's a choice too. People don't have to believe in God. You could tell them, it's a choice. You either do it or you don't. I always say, you're going to mind somebody. I learned that in Wasco. You're going to mind the devil, a cop, or something. You'll mind somebody. I'd rather mind God and my positive family. And if a person is positive, I can mind, okay. I'm not a yes man. Because where I come from, you're a yes man. You're a chump. Yeah. No, I'm going to sit there and look at you. And a lot of times I could see you coming because God gave me a gift. I already know, but I'm going to let you say something. What I am now, my circle is very small. It's Willie Clay and Mr. Day. I met him in the church.
Shout out.
And it's where, for being here, I went to church 2015. And I stayed in, it was a Ursha. And so I end up at the
Calvary Christian Center.
Been there. Mother's Day made me a year. It's something to understand what you want to deal with. The devil got his way and everything's wrong and bad and it's deceiving. But God put this here. The devil didn't. God put this here for you to entertain and do, but do what's right. I listen to Buddhism. Some people don't care about it, but it helps you to get through mindset, your healing. And then Chicano's got, how I say, I'm Juanito Amijo. I'll give you the story. My dad, for 40 years, I had a Mexican mom, and I loved them. They wasn't no joke back in Fresno. But I'm like that. I got them in my family. They're cousins and stuff. I don't go through all that white, black, green, or whatever. Whatever you is, God put you. I used to kind of rear up. I didn't care for you. When they had COVID, people locked their doors. So when I got well, I put on my mask. If I seen somebody going, I locked the door. And they look at me, what? I said, I don't know what you got. You might have something, you know? And that, but I was like, I was raised into that. If you see a black person come, you lock your door, put your purse, man, because he going to take it. And nowadays, you look at the female, they'll bust you upside your head, and tell you, that's mine. Just seen it today. Dude, and it's the opposite. A white dude telling the Chicanos, 3 of them. And Chicano said, man, give me my bag. And he, man, what you gonna do? I'll whoop all you. That rascal got whooped on the bus, pulled out. He eased back on the bus, and the bus took off. So you'll get an ass whooping, excuse my language, some kind of way if you don't pay attention. And you don't need to be acting like a bully. Back in the day, today, the rapists, the snitches, and a bully, they got paperwork to do you wrong. They do you wrong. I'm not into the snitching, but if you got to tell something to save somebody's life, you better tell it. Because, people are just doing off-the-wall stuff that don't make no sense. It don't make no sense, but to them it makes sense, So you got to prepare yourself. How that lady said she don't want her grandkid to go through something. I said, well, my son, he did that homeschooling. I never did homeschooling, but I didn't understand it, but I got 3 of the beautiful grandbaby. They be on point. How I said it at a meeting. I don't know my ABCs, but my son said, my oldest, well, Daddy, Adele can
teach you.
They'll teach you. And I like, they say I'm getting chill. I like, okay, I don't mind. If I still need that, but it's the way I feel, how I'm grateful. I feel obligated because I signed up for this, to be here for my loved one. It don't matter who you are. Yes, sir.
Did you ever get to see James Brown live?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me take you back to the 60s. The Memorial Auditorium, James Brown came. So we used to go in. With me, I was feeling missed. I always kind of get back to the back room. When you Google James Brown, it says James Brown and the Famous Flames. One of the famous flames is Baby Lloyd. I stole the shoes. Then Tina Turner came to Fresno. Tina Turner and the band. I stole one of the band members. I used to know how to get in the back and take people's stuff. Had my name on it. But I love me some James Brown. When he came to Fresno the last time, he said Fresno was like a cemetery. And didn't get to see him no more. But my thing, I love doo-wops. I love oldies but goodies. In Fresno, we used to be a theater. And the big hats and stuff. And do their little dance. Man, I said right, didn't know a word they were saying. But I love music. And it's where my stepmoms back in the day, they be playing. Johnny, you know what they? No, but I like it. And that's how, but yeah, I had a chance. And just for James Brown, I didn't see Etta James, Temptations, Earth, Wind, and Fire, working at the fair. I brought him a few times. I worked there so much, the entertainment. I used to go get stuff at the Rainbow Ballroom, Etta James, Keith Sweat. I knew them, all of them, because I love entertainment. If anything is healing, he does it. It's music. You get you some new jazz, whatever music, it soothes the mind. I'll share this. What I watch now is the rain in different countries on sun. Where it's at, where the Japanese on the scooters and they riding. They ain't got no lights, but they out there with the tents and they get their hustle on. The rain, just to hear the rain, and it's raining, I get into a zone.
You're talking about those 4K views where they walk through the cities and then show you what's going on as far as the marketplace.
Yeah. It soothes the mind. There's no argument. It's just the rain. And I think Will was telling me something was supposed to do for Jermaine. He said maybe Jermaine might want to listen to the rain. I said no, he ain't gonna listen to the rain, but you could get it. And I've been at this what 5 years now. I
This
likes
is
the
your
rain.
meditation practice?
Yeah, it is. It soothes the mind, and it makes you think. Cause it ain't no talk. All you hear is the rain at school. A lot of time I'll just cut the volume down and I might look because they hustle. They got even my soulmate. She's in Africa, but 3 years. The females there has that thing on top of their head, and they'll wrap a baby on their back, and they be selling fruits. They be selling stuff. I'm about the hustle of legal money the way you can make ends meet. I used to be a hustle on taking and stealing. That ain't me no more. But if you got a little hustle, a little merchandise, I always made a statement. Donation don't hurt. That's where you hear my son say it. If you don't have it, I'll still give it to you. But,
Right.
if you're looking bad, I ain't going to ask you for your last dollar. Next time you come around, bring me 50 cents.
I like that. I like how you had expressed that, you used to make bad decisions, but now you decided to take a turn for the better, and I would like to think you've planted a lot of positive seeds, at least from my life until now, as far as the wisdom that you share to people, and then you're qualified to talk about the mistakes that's been made and just what can happen if you do these things and what consequences come from that. So that's why the more people get to know you, then they'll know like, man, you're very valuable, like you don't get the good without the bad. There is the good, the bad, and the ugly that most people in life are going to experience, because you have to be able to appreciate what it is that your circumstances are. So there's no such thing as a one-sided coin. And that's where you always remind me too, even when the world might throw things out there, as positive as we strive to be, things are not always positive, and happiness is not supposed to be permanent. You're going to go through a constant roller coaster of emotions. You can appreciate happiness once you've been angry, once you've been hurt, once you've felt pain. But I like how you shouted out the healing. Like I need it, we need it, and we get it, but we still make that a thing where healing through music, I like how you, for those that haven't been too privy to it, but I have a serious speech impediment. I still deal with it, but music helped me to get through that with therapy. Thank you. And my dad, from as long as I can remember, I would wake up and he'd be playing either soul, jazz, he'd be playing James Brown, the same people he named. I literally woke up coming out of the room, coming in, and he'd be vibing. He'd have incense going, he'd be vibing and grooving, and like that was my childhood. So it's like I need that now because in the real world, I think of myself as a superhero striving to go help, but I have him with me still, and he's doing that. Just as he mentioned earlier, when he'd be helping people with their groceries across the street and blessing the people, he was out there on the corners with me even during COVID when we're giving out tablets, phones, COVID tests, masks, and waters, just creating a name for ourselves, branding ourselves as people that are available to help, but while we're still going through what we're going through. But that's where I love that you said that, Pop. Like you've done the stealing, you've done the lying, you've done the cheating, but now you're also pouring back into the community. There's been a thing within the circle. Sometimes some of us say like, we're not giving back to the community because we didn't take nothing, but it'd be like, for example, my dad, who's been a part of everything. So, oh yeah, I'm stealing. If it's not bolted to the ground, I'm taking it. That was his thing.
Got my name on it. I always say, you got my name on it. Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for you because even then, now we're starting to let it be known that even behind closed doors, we might make it known like, our values may not always aligned, but when it comes to doing the right thing, that's what we're striving to stay consistent on now because we know about doing the wrong thing. We know about dysfunction. We know about, the consequences of what it comes with, but we still are going to be codependent on relationships and resources. So going back to your story, that's why I'm like, I'm very grateful, even though you've been through all of those things and there's going to be opinions that come about it, but I'm thankful I've had a father in my life ever since I was 8 months old. And still, he expressed, there's times when he said he ran me off, he kicked me out, he might have been high, not feeling something I was saying and put me out. But at the same time, that's still my father. There's times when I go through stuff in the real world, I call him, hey, these people, like even as a youth, the youth could be harsh to you. My speech impediment would constantly have people thinking like, don't worry, man, you slow, like you a little slow. So I used to ask them like, Dad, like, am I special needs? Like, am I slow? Like, no, you ain't slow, man. You just processing words. Your brain is processing words faster than your mouth can say it, man. They're slow, man. Don't worry about it. Keep on doing it, So that motivation, that wisdom really let me know, like, okay, I got a father who really still pouring into me, who really does believe me no matter what. So that helped with my confidence, and it's because of you, like because of you, the mistakes you've made and you shared them with me, I know not to make those mistakes. So there's wisdom in that. But, and even then going back to your story, that's why I think of like, I wouldn't trade, like, you're still planting positive seeds that are wowing me because you're almost 80 years old and you've been through things that you can almost feel entitled to. Maybe, I ain't gonna say not have a positive attitude, but you're entitled to feel how you feel because like you're here. So that just leads me into the marriages you've had. You had a Mexican, a Latino mother coming up. You're cultured up in Fresno, and you've experienced Huey P. Newton. You've had ties to the Black Panthers. And just from there, I just really want to say, like, what would you say would be a major life-changing moment, separate from me being born, but like, if you could just think of, from all your journey, something that's a vivid, like, life-changing moment for you that still like holds, it still is very heavy and holds a lot of weight. Just a very life-changing moment from all you've been through from then until now. Just one thing that, just one very special moment or one life-changing moment that is something that you really hold close to you.
Still being here when you check out and you don't know where you're going. I felt I would go to hell. But to still be here, I think that changed a lot. Like you said, besides you, then the other is my grandbabies. When you started having these grandbabies, 3 of them, but starting, that really got me to understand I'm still worth something to the family because my background, don't get Johnnie, man, he always on, we don't want him. And now that as time went, they'll say, yo, bring your dad or something.
Right.
But what really changed for me to still be here, because wherever you're going to go, you don't know. People say they went somewhere. I didn't go nowhere. I just stayed, and it was dark. And then like now saying at 80, it's not a fear, but it's like nobody in my family made it. Dad, 73, my brother, 73. When I got 73, I think I shared it with you a little. I like, am I next?
You had said, I feel weird.
I feel weird.
Because this is when my dad checked out.
Yeah. And now that I'm getting to be 80, it feels, once you get to be 80, you'll know what it feels like. Because I could say it, but he got his age bracket, you got yours. I remember that part. Whatever I was doing wasn't nice. But when you get there, either talk to somebody grandma, if grandpa's still around, aunt, anybody that's in their 80s, ask if it's even on YouTube. I'm listening to people that are 103, 102, and there's Chicanos, Armenians, and black women's, and they tell you about your food, your health. My son will say it, health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
See? And how he say still be here. What started my daughter in St. Louis last year, the year before last, I went to St. Louis. Only been on trip twice. And when I was in the first time, there was a guy in the back, and I'm looking at the clouds. In my mind, I say, man, is this the close you're going to get to God? I'm sitting there, and that guy in the back, he was just fussing and crying. I'm like, hey, hush. What you talking about? I say, God, what's wrong with you? I'm scared. I'm like, wow. I wasn't scared, but I'm like, this the close. I'm looking at the cloud, and I'm looking. When she said it, she said, Dad, you're going to Jamaica at 80. I was just 78. How you going to put me? So now when he said that, it kind of I said, never thought about it. I'm just thankful I'm still here. God, you don't know how long, but if somebody's like saying something like that, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be here that long. I have a good heart to feel. I ain't missing nothing, but if I go, how I said it, I'll be late for my own funeral. That's how I feel, That's how I feel. But it's like, I appreciate even,
There's somebody
yeah,
coming up.
even how this young man changed my life. If it wasn't for him, I'd probably still be in Fresno doing something I ain't got no business, but it's where you have a journey and God opens the doors. You could get doors closed, but God will open the door. If one door closed, another one open. And I always say, one monkey don't stop no show. That's an old saying. And then you got to watch your foot where you plant your feet at, where you got steps to make. If you make the wrong step, it's going to take over, lose your freedom, be on drugs. And if you got a mental capacity, there's help. You just don't have to go that far with it. Some kind of way, there's always a solution. Some kind of way.
That's wisdom. That is wisdom. So for you just be, like I said, I get for those that now know, like this is why I am the way I am, a heavy influence, because he overflows with the wisdom, and it's like he's lived so much life, you can't help but soak it in. I'm 32, but I look at it as, my partner Fabian, you're 23, right? So my dad has been 23 3 times, so he's lived 3 of his lifetimes, he's lived almost 3 of my lifetimes. But that's why I look at it. Within this lifetime, he'll be 121 years from now. His grandchildren that he said is a life-changing thing. Adea, she's 7. Shout out baby Dea. She'll be 28. If by the time you're 100, she'll be 28. So I'm just thinking, like, there's a lot we have to do. There's no rush, but I don't say have to do. There's a lot to look forward to on this journey, and we're just getting started. Shout out to baby, baby Elena, my adventure baby. This is her month, she just turned 6, so she'll be 27 by the time her grandfather is 100. So my youngest is 2, shout out to baby Cynthia, baby CJ, she's 2, she'll be 23 by the time her grandfather's 100. So that's my type of thought process as far as thinking big, like, hey, 20 years is going to go by whether we're ready for it or not. But when we prepare, I'm preparing to live life in abundance. The work that we're putting in, I want us to be able to enjoy it the same way I want to be able to go to 79 and be able to just enjoy my days, weeks, and years, But I think about that like, okay, 21 years, it seems like a long time, but I'm 30, before you know it. And for your journey, that's what I'm thinking. Now moving forward, you had just said it too, like you found your purpose. So it's like, find your purpose when you go through things. And even if it's a rocky road, lean on a mentor, or at least lean on somebody who's lived that life, just so you can get some guidance. So that kind of leads us to even the jewel you dropped earlier when you was like, there's so much going on. Just read a book, or just pick up a book, or find a mentor. And, I'm writing books, and that's why I even asked you, I said, Pops, you ever thought about writing a book? A book is an asset, it's something that you could put your thoughts and ideas on. And I ain't gonna say you should forget about it, but you could forget about it, and that thing could pay you. Like, that's something you could do one time and get paid for it forever. And we can set it up in a way where your grandchildren can benefit from it, or at least go back and pull from that story,
With that, see, you my coach, you my manager, you the doctor. I even tell people he is my daddy, but at the same time, the Healing Circle did a lot since my birthday, February 4th, and going on Tuesday, it's for the children's. But a shout out to the Healing Circle, all the
Shout
men's
out to the Healing Circle.
all the men's in there with their positive self, what they're going through, and everything. And at the same time, for Tim, Black Panther, know who he is.
Marvell Wilson Jr. Shout out to DJ One Gone, aka
Mr.
Timothy
King,
Poole,
and all the rest of them, the one that prays.
Mr. King with the Gardens.
Marley
Willie
knows
Harden.
y'all names, so when I think about it, just like now I'm looking at, he'll know who this, I'm saying it, but it goes for the Healing Circle. That's what happens with me now as another uplift of man. My sons, both of them, Dad, you need to come. Even Uncle Johnnie, man, the Healing Circle. And then me, it's like what Denzel say, you quit complaining. He said certain things, quit complaining. So I would complain, man, I'd wait till the weather changed. Before I knew it, I started coming. And it's something that I don't need to think about it. Either I'm going to do it or it's going to get past me. And I'm trying to do, I can't use the word try. I'm going to do the best I can to be in most of everything. I'm not a lazy person. I ain't trying to get up there with the Joneses, but I'm mixing myself with any age. We had a man there, 80 something. He'll point at my son. I'm going to listen. You're not wasting your time, like I say. When you say something to me, I'm going to listen. If I don't like it, I'll probably tell you, but 5 times 10, I don't. I don't have nothing negative to bring to the table. It's got to be positive. Half my life was negativity. So what positive is, it's my son, my grandkids, even this young man over here. Positive.
Shout out to Fabian.
I could feel the vibe. How they say we go in that room, God gives me a gift. I call it, I can see you coming, but I'm going to let you say something. Mm-hmm. And if you say something, if I don't like it, I'll say, okay, oh, somebody call me. I got to take this call. I know how to leave, walk away. Don't add nothing to it. And it's a word called conflict. I had it a while back against certain people that didn't accept one of my family members. But it was me. I was the conflict against that. As I got through, I talked to my other son. He brought me out of it. Most of my kids, I call them, man, they say, Papa, I don't need to say no. Check your dad. Check your grandpa. Because I'm checkable. It's something I might say. I don't mean it's old, but it's that old Johnnie Williams. I might think it. 5 times 10, you ain't going to hear it. But I like to listen to people.
You taught me that too, that check-in is just a form of correction, and it's like, we don't have the answers, check us if we're wrong, and you've made yourself vulnerable to do that. I've adapted that too, where I'll tell people, hey, cut me off, check me, like it's just a form of correction. And that's where I just wanted to name a couple people, because you said out of that room is so much positivity, and it is. Just a couple people I wanted to shout out. OG Joe Tanner, he be on fire. He comes, he's one of the elders there, but he be having passion and saying, hey, we need you guys. When are we going to get off, So shout out to OG Joe. Michael Gant, he was the first interview that we had right here in this building. Shout out to the South Sac Wellness Alliance. He's one of our partners. Yes, shout out. Sir. We've got Ali. We got the computer tech guy. We've got Ali. And,
young man.
Yep, he's 36. Him and Cameron, they're the
young men.
The young men. So shout out to them. We got Dwight Howard, black man, Man. We got Lynn. We got Tim Cunningham. I don't want to miss nobody, but I just wanted to shout out to Curtis. We even got the youth, the youngster named Tim. Tim, he's starting the car washing. He got the car washing the cam
Very
business.
young man.
So y'all don't want to leave anybody out. Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody. But that healing circle is powerful. There's nothing like that in Sacramento, at Sacramento Black Wall Street. That's what's going on. There's nothing like that going on, and not just the Williams family, but there's a lot of love that's coming out of that healing circle.
And Tuesday for the youth, I'm just get started on that. Mm-hmm. And I said that with my mouth open, because Mr. T, he explores so much the way he says it, how he'll come to us and say what he got to say. When you get a person's attention, and every man in there, even this young man across from me at 23, I'm a type of person, you could get my attention, I wouldn't even think about you. I used to hear it, but I didn't listen. I got to think about what I do now. I'm going to listen. You ain't wasting your time with me. If I'm available, I can say what I got to say. But it's where you get a person's attention, and them kids too, how I explain it, look at your mom and dad. You got to step up. If they on something ain't right, don't just cuss them out or fuss at them. Put something in the way that'll get them going. You do something. That dad and that mom got to get the attention to the kids. Because if you let them run buck wild, somebody's paying attention to them, but it's the wrong attention. They need that good attention. And at the healing circle, we're the ones to help. Because really, them young men are helping me. Go ahead, son.
Facts. I love that you said that. And that's where I don't know any group that can't benefit from healing. So that's where it's important that we do let that be known. Like, no, there's healing going on, and your home should be a healing circle. And like, that's things that we do. We have it within our own home. Like, it's starting to be an atmosphere, where inside the healing circle, it's called We Run the Wheel, where we stand up, we say our name, we say our age, we say what we want to be, and we say how our day was, and that's thanks to the leadership of Mr. Tim Poole. Shout out to DJ Wangon. That man is a real leader. He's been putting in the work for years, but now it's it's starting to duplicate to where he's planted the seed. Like, hey, your home should be a healing circle. If not, come and get you some healing and then duplicate, just rinse and repeat. So we're offering that not just because, like the healing circle is so motivating, but for somebody like my dad, his journey, Johnnie Williams being born in 1947, coming up in Fresno, California. That's the Central Valley, the heart. They call that the armpit of California. They call that the smack dab center, and it's rooted in agriculture. His story is definitely enough to at least let he's qualified to share, what not to do or what will happen, but even then to offer healing for those that, aren't really aware of what really healing boils down to. To heal is to cure is to make better. So healing is a way of making something better, making you better, a better version of yourself. So even if you believe or don't believe in cures, then you should believe or increase your belief system on healing and what it can do, especially at a time like now. But so I just wanted to pivot, or not even.
Can I say?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
For when I end up with my son, and we had a spot in Fresno, I made it known that I named it Safe Haven. It been ever since we moved on Princeton. So he could have been 3, maybe 4. When I moved here, it's 4707 Hayward Way is Safe Haven. That's where you could come talk. I'm like the bartender. I ain't gonna give you nothing to drinks or something, but we call it putting it on the table. You put your heart out. I've been a Safe Haven person from the day one with my son. And I always say, why you name it Safe Haven? Because of my son. I call it Safe Haven because you're safe. I can't bring in everybody, but when you sit down and talk, I feel by the time you leave, you didn't figure out something. I just wanted to say that. Go ahead, son.
I'm glad you did that. And since you kind of gave the address, if anybody knows about OPM Vision, if you Google that, that is the address for that business. But it is Safe Haven. That's when he even mentioned the table. There's really a real table, not just a leadership table where we come and offer healing, but there's a merch table there. You can buy some merchandise. Mm-hmm. But it's Safe Haven, though. That's a place to come and get some music, some merch, or just some marketing as far as the healing.
And some wisdom and knowledge.
And some wisdom and knowledge. That's in the North Highlands area, by the way, So that took me down. That's why I'm like, man, the healing, right? We've turned the healing circle. We've taken the energy and we've still duplicated to make sure that our home is a healing circle. But now we're actually going out into the streets and into the community and offering that. And I think one thing that's contributing to our success doing it is we're knowing the difference from, like most of us just have neighbors, like we have neighborhoods, but we don't really have community, and that's where we are creating that from the culture. We're having a leadership culture in here. For those that know, the best way to win in life is to develop leaders, and what are leaders? Those are people of influence, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But you as well as us, we're creating a leadership culture and offering healing and forming a community. That's where that Curtail Crest comes in handy. And I'm mentioning this because he is a core member of the Curtail family when it comes to a company or a community member that's united righteously through expressing loyalty. He's the epitome of that. I'm striving to rinse and repeat and do that. If I have a partnership or establishment with people, that's one thing about my character is that, when it comes to loyal, we are that, and that comes from you. I give you that honor and say you've planted those seeds and let it be known. No matter what happened, you've never given up on me. You've never downplayed the value. You've always instilled, hey, like, we'll get through this. Don't even worry about it. Just live your life. Like, let them deal with that. Even if them not having you in your life, they got to deal with that. So like that's everything. And that's why I just want to go back to saying, like, you're that much more needed, even though, there's people that don't know, you can have diseases, you can have viruses and still overcome. But when COVID hit, and I wanted to touch on that, when COVID hit, I didn't downplay it, but I'm like, I've been with somebody who's had HIV and we've dealt with worser things from people not even knowing.
You had it for a minute, COVID. You had a little bit of it. You got sick, and we thought it was the flu, but you got well, whatever it was.
When COVID hit,
everybody. I
was weak.
I think everybody, people that I see that would just die, because when you have cancer, and I went through that, and when they put this little thing on me, and you getting cured, you're losing a lot. It's whatever it is they putting in you.
About the chemotherapy?
Chemotherapy.
That's radiation therapy.
Yeah, radiation. I'm just coming back like 4 years now of understanding radiation affect you, and you don't get rid of what God can get rid of it for you, Mr. Sybil. But when you have cancer, it's either laying low and you're doing okay, but at the same time, I went for 5 years, and my doctor said, okay, whatever you're doing, keep doing what your son having you to do. And I'm still here. So with that, it's how listen to somebody that knows what they're talking about. And if you don't know, Google it, find a way, because everybody could tell you something, might not know what they're talking about.
You had said it kind of fast when you said Dr. Sebo, but I just wanted to touch on it. Dr. Sebi.
I'm sorry.
Alfredo Bowman. I'm just letting you know, because that's what I did. I started Googling, how do we beat cancer? So my dad got diagnosed with cancer. I don't understand this. I'm not going to challenge God, but I prayed and said, God, I'm not ready to lose my dad. So we got to beat cancer. But I'm saying that to say I studied Dr. Sebi, and I got some information that let me know you get rid of the mucus, you can cure most of what you're going through. You know, you put the good in and the good comes out. But if you got the bad in, you got to flush the bad out. So he broke it down so simple. And that's why I didn't want to, I'm not a doctor, but I say we definitely started taking we started making better, healthy decisions and started taking the necessary steps to at least build up the immune system to fight off whatever may come at it. So and in doing that research, I found out having HIV, which is a human immunodeficiency virus, is that he's bound to get cancer at some point if he doesn't treat himself. His immune system is weak, so that let me know, oh, okay, I shouldn't be worried. Like this was, I ain't gonna say bound to come, but if by him admitting he's practiced a lot of bad habits, has done drugs and alcohol for over 60 years, your health is going to take a toll. But his will, and that's when I'm like, last name is Williams, your willpower is what I think has kept you here through these things. Because again, that's where I'm like, me doing the research and saying, hey, we got to figure out how to still stick around for a while. You've been around and I'm not ready to lose you. So I got to put up a fight. And that's where I say I studied Dr. Sebi, and rest in peace to Dr. Sebi.
Rest in peace.
That's a big thing. Even Nipsey Hussle was in the process of making a documentary exposing the case that Dr. Sebi won, showing how he cured these diseases, including HIV, including AIDS, and how all of these celebrities didn't used to go to him. Michael Jackson, Left Eye from TLC. But rest in peace to those people. But now, like Yaki Awaken or Yakai Awaken, he's our modern day Dr. Sebi. But I'm still following those teachings. So I'm saying that to say anybody that is dealing with any type of virus or wants to contribute to health, Dr. Sebi, Alfredo Bowman, or even Dr. Yakai right now, like these brothers are not only this brother Yakai is he's a divine demonstrator. He doesn't identify.
Well educated and wisdom of knowing the health as a Muslim brother, a person that has knowledge and wisdom. How I look at him and learning myself. Why I'm still on medication, I'm a little hard-headed because my son is my doctor, but I have doctor. I've been here for 15 years. My doctor still, I ain't changing over or nothing because he got my record. John, you're doing good. Or when I go in, what happened? Well, I ain't took my medicine. I go back and forth. But a lot of it got to be with the grace of God. I would have been out here a long time ago, but I pay more attention. And to listen how my son done said it, I wasn't paying attention. I heard him, but I didn't listen. So now that I'm listening and heard it, and then you go with understanding and why. Just because I'm saying it, this is what got me here. If you want to get past my age or get to up where I'm at, get into your knowledge, knowing, wisdom, listen, learn, because you ain't too old to learn, you ain't too young, you'll get it. Way the young kids are now. They got it more than I do. I'm like, man, he know that? I didn't know it. But at the same time, it's wisdom and knowledge and back to basics. My son got it, I call it back to basics. You go back to your roots. You go back to what grandma, you go back what is good for you to keep you healthy. I ain't always talking about God all the time. God is the surface of it. But we here on land, he gave you enough sense to do what's right. If you don't do what's right, then how you gonna blame? Oh, you didn't tell me that. And God is waiting on you. You keep waiting on God. God is waiting on you to better yourself. You can't just keep on. Well, back in the days, mounting them. I'm gonna wait for Jesus. I ain't waiting. Look, you better get out there and do what you need to do, because you could wait all you want and don't even take heed of what a doctor say, my son or the young man across from. People got something to say, but pay attention and get a different opinion, and then you make a choice, because it's called a choice. You make a choice. If you don't feel like you want to suffer and go through all this madness, that's on you. But at the same time, when it's too late, you can't come back, or they tell you ain't got too many more days to live, don't start complaining, because you was warned, you was knowledgeable to know. A lot of people, like God had sent so many people in your life, you was waiting on him. He didn't send people. It's a scripture that's saying it, for a life jacket. And all the time, when the guy went to heaven, he said, what happened? God said, I didn't send all them 3 things for you to get. You got to understand what is good for you and for your family.
I just want to point out, you said, you got to make a choice. The choice is simple. The choice is yours. If you know, you know. For you being up in age, that's why now I just recommend, remember I used to ask you, hey, just get a handful of some blueberries in your system. If it's not the smoothies, I'm encouraging you to eat some blueberries. I'm like, hey, even if you don't drink water, eat some watermelon. Eat some pineapple, throw a little tahini on it. So I'm really planting those seeds religiously. I wake up, Pops, did you get your handful of blueberries yet? And if I'm with him, hey, let me whip up a smoothie before I have a meeting. So it's that's what I'm doing. So that's why I'm not a doctor, but if I was to be labeled something, I'm working on becoming a nutritionist just by example, on putting the nutrients in my body and adding or just encouraging my dad or, all of my day ones and close people. So my partner Fabian, he be having us on the healthy tea, so definitely, but just keeping it basic on that for the elders and even for the youth and in between. Eat some blueberries, eat some watermelon, especially right now. Stay hydrated. Smoothies, I'm the smoothie king in Sacramento, but I feed my dad smoothies religiously. I've been a little behind on my consistency, but
I just started back on him, and how he said, he's my doctor. God's my doctor. He's my doctor. And how the little one, Grandpa, have you drunk some water? I got to get on that. Why I'm still here. It ain't where I'm on top of it. No, I be lagging and acting like I know. By the time I think about it, it's just me being a little bit lazy. But at the grace of God, I'm still here. And to help those, you could be here longer. The young man across from me, he's at 23, he's at 32. I'm at 79. You got to get here healthy. You get here with a mindset to know you could do much better. Whatever it was that you thought you could do and it didn't work, how would Cat Williams try, don't work?
Switch it up.
Switch it up.
So, right.
Yeah.
This is very, did you have any other questions by chance, or did you have anything specifically?
No, I think we covered most of it. I actually did, just as a comedy fan.
Okay.
How was Richard Pryor? Were you able to see him live?
No, but JoJo Dancer, I tell you how he did JoJo Dancer. And that kind of slowed me down, because I used to get into that, eyes, heartbeat beating. And I always wondered, I say, would I go that far on JoJo Dancer? How he just went. But that was my idol.
Is that a movie or is that
Yeah. Google it. It's a movie. Check him out on what that cracker do to you.
They said Richard Pryor was
Richard Pryor,
on fire.
he was on fire. Comedians back then, I chose him. And how rap came, it wasn't no rap, but if you listen to James Brown, but as rap came, my best one was, what's the name?
You talking about right now?
Mac Dre.
Okay.
I went with Mac Dre, but I listened to Tupac, both of them. As time went, I'm particular. So I didn't heard it. I'm not too much of Too Short, but he changed.
Shout out to
Too Short. But it's where he don't cuss. He don't do none of that. Just because he's my son, there's other rappers, but I'm paying more attention. And he has things to say to where who I was listening to back then, that was then. This is now how he says it. But then there's other. Once in a while, I get out And I said, oh, cool, that person said that. I'm always curious, but then it ain't no why because it ain't too much interest of what they got going from the streets. Even politics. I don't pay attention to orange face and all that. But I'm looking at the board, looking at who you vote for. And we still got to have out for Ronald.
Ronald Bell.
Ronald
Vote
Bell.
for Ronald
He's
Bell.
trying to district.
That's a real
like
good
they
man.
say, it ain't too many black men of different nationality in the business of the board, on the panel. And for them to say what we're not, most of them don't speak what is in the healing circle. Once I was around, let's go do something. Let's do some drugs, or let's go slap up. That ain't it. And but it's here. All the books they got, businesses in Atlanta. People got black business. People that got business. The Arab, anybody that got a good business. Where my store is at, I always say, well, you ain't hired no black man. Oh, Johnnie, I say, that's okay, but it's one at night. But it's where you don't want to hire somebody that's going to take your stuff.
Right.
Or try to run your business. So I used to be in certain things, and he would state, Molly trying to take over he ain't trying to take, he helping us. And I'm looking, and then what's the matter? I said, well, if you think my son is, you don't need me, or you can work. No, my son ain't taking, he's helping. And there's a few of them, man, I just, okay, you going about your business, I'll stay with my son.
Been about 6 of them, huh?
Yeah,
I done got
man,
voted
they
out
be
and
all
kicked
on
out of
him.
6 businesses I done started
Yeah.
around here. But it's what comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to
Go ahead,
cut you off,
son.
though.
To add something to that, because you were talking about James Brown, and then kind of shift into the hip hop. James Brown, a lot of his beats, or what they call the beat breaks,
Breaks, right?
those were used in the early hip hop. So he was really almost like a founder of it with his music, using those samples, chopping them up, and creating those songs.
Disco came, and he went a different level because he had Bootsy Collins. Half the history, I could almost explain it or show it because that's all I do. But when disco came, I kind of went for disco until I went back to him. Disco took that long version of Donna Summers, all of that. Even I forgot Sylvester, because he was gay, he knew how to do disco. It did make me, if you got that move and that groove, that's where I'm at. Like they say, you get that move and that groove, you get that in working, get that groove. And
charm,
enjoy
your
what
charisma.
you want to do. Don't make that something hard. Well, that's a job. No, it ain't. If you like it, you'll like it. If not, find you something that'll get you going.
Facts.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just wanted to let it be known where people could find you if they wanted to get in contact with you, because I'm sure if anybody from the woodworks and see this, they're gonna be like, man, Johnnie JW. So you are on Facebook, Johnnie Williams III, JOHNNIE WILLIAMS.
See me on Facebook.
Yep.
Can't miss me.
Johnnie Williams. So you don't got Instagram, but also on Facebook, you could be seen all throughout the Men's Healing Circle. Shout out to Timothy Poole. His Men's Healing Circle has a Facebook page where they post a lot of content. My dad is part of almost all the meetings, so he's in there. Also on my page as well too. You'll see my dad along the timeline and in it. But Facebook, if you want to get in contact with Johnnie Williams, aka the Last of the Mohegan, JW3, you can follow him on Facebook, or you can reach out to the Healing Circle, or you can reach out to my page, and or you'll also see him on the website once we do get the Curtail Family website up. He's going to be he might share his information if he wants, but he's a man who offers himself the services of healing and just adding value, and he's been doing it for at least 30 years, 30 plus years of my life. So before we do wrap it up, is there any other shout outs or any other last remarks that you wanted to make?
I'm available. If I don't get to you fast enough, I will, because I'm pretty nosy on my phone. And at my age, most people at this age, they don't want to be bothered. Bother me, because I'm open. I'm not trying to be the Jones. I ain't trying to act like I know. I ain't holier than thou either. I'm just a regular man, black man, different nationalities in me. I care for people that care for themselves. And definitely we give them the mothers, the aunties, if you don't even have kids. Be supportive out of men's. Be supportive for that woman. Don't make no difference who, black woman, Asian, Japanese, Chinese, it don't make no difference. but be available and listen to my son. He has a lot to say that's positive.
Thank you. I just wanted to say too, you're extraordinary. I don't want to say you regular. You're a little extra. I'm a little extra, but you're extraordinary. You're extraordinary. So for and a shout out to the man behind the camera and on the engineering, OG
Man.
Fabian. Thank you for this. This is one of my favorite, this is years in the making, but even our partnership is just starting and it's just the beginning. So this is a In the Clouds Media, a Rooted In segment. We got one of the last of the Mohegans, 79 years wise, 79 years young, Johnnie Williams III. Peace and blessings. Until next time. Love.
Shout out to Aunt Kim. And her family.
That's right. It's love.
Okay.
Peace.
Yeah.
In, baby. Probably never gonna care, man. We still gonna prepare, man. This life ain't fair, and we know that. Precision real clear, man. There's none you should fear, man. A level up is here, for sure that. Hear me loud and clear. Take a look in the mirror, yeah. Diamond chandelier, secure that.